Hello, everybody. As we get all situated, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. I'm going to silence all my notifications. Hello, Mr. Jeff. How are you?
Doing good. How you doing, McKenna?
I'm good, thank you. And I see Dwight there.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. We're going to give, we had 20 people registered to join, so we're going to give them a few minutes. I know y'all know how it is. Trying to get seated and all situated. So. Hello, Miss Tina. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to hop on. If you see gals with Lemon Seed backgrounds, that's because they're account managers or team members at Lemon Seed. So they're just here to learn from the best, Miss Sarah Vest. So. And everybody's doing a great job. If you'll just stay muted, that way I don't have to mute you and we don't have any awkward interactions. Has everybody received, we emailed out this morning a printout with fill in the blanks. Did everybody receive that? Okay, beautiful. Jeff gives me 2 thumbs up. Is it pronounced Tirsa? Tirsha? I don't want to mispronounce your name. She may be. First one was right. Yay me. Well, good. I'm glad you got your handbook. We'll give everybody a few more minutes. After this, we'll email out just some housekeeping things. We'll email out the recording as well as we'll reference some materials while Sarah and I talk. So we'll send those out after this, just so that everybody has the recording if you want to reference back to it, as well as just some materials that Sarah has shared from McWilliams and Son for you to have inspiration. So we'll share all those with you afterwards. We're going to give 2 more minutes and then we'll, if you snooze, you lose. Sarah wanted me to warn y'all, if at any point you see her shake her head or wave her hand, no, it's because in the McWilliams and Son office, the front of her office is glass. And so people will come by and be like, are you on a call? And so she'll have to politely let them know. Yes, in fact, she is. So. One more minute. Stephanie, I see you there too. And then who's reception? I want to know who you are. Reception may be working reception and not able to answer my question. Okay, Miss Sarah, you ready to do this thing? We'll start a little bit early.
Let's go.
Let's do this. Oh, as I say that, somebody else wants in. Okay, well, if y'all will have your little agenda, your workbook pulled up, we're going to go through this and talk about the 4 ways to help make your call center sweet and not sour. And so we thought the best way to get the best advice would be to have Miss Sarah Vest from McWilliams and Son on the call. So before we dive in, Sarah, could you tell our friends a little bit about you? What makes you the best with customer service?
So I don't know if I'm the best, but you're too nice. I started, I got a BBA in finance I do nothing with finance. I've never done anything with finance. I graduated and went straight into a local transportation company for 12 years as their HR director. Met Crystal through some community events. We got to talking. She called. I came over, visit with McWilliams Son, and 3 years ago I made the switch. Best decision I ever made. I literally started here as an administrative assistant, and I thought, oh, for me, it was a step back. I could take a breath, wasn't going to be as busy, just kind of sitting between the operations guy and our CFO. I tell everybody it's probably the most bipolar position you could be in because they are so different. So sitting between them was a good balance. It was fun. I was in that position for about 4 to 5 months before Trey came and said, I really want to start a real call center. So we started building that out. And it's been great. So just learning as we go and learn new things every day. What works doesn't work.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we love to get to share all of our resources from McWilliams and Son. They have a very, very talented team. So y'all keep an eye out because we'll be doing more of these quarterly trainings as the years progress. I mean, heck, we're going to have 2023 here before we know it.
Right.
So keep an eye out. We'll be emailing y'all as we do more and more of these quarterly Zoom trainings where we'll be bringing in some valued leadership from McWilliams and Son, as well as some preferred vendors that we work with. So let's get this started. I'm going to real quick include, for those of you just in case that don't have the workbook that are joining us, I'm going to put that in the chat right now for y'all to look off of. So Sarah, the first thing we're going to talk about is the pillars of the call center as one of the ways to make your call center sweet, not sour. So what is the first pillar? What's that first blank that our listeners can fill in?
Scripts.
Okay, so this will be something just for y'all to know before we deep dive into this a little bit more. We will email y'all an example of a McWilliams and Son CSR script that you can use and switch for yourselves. So Sarah, what do you feel like is the key to a good script? Why even use scripting?
So scripting keeps your CSRs on task. They don't go off on a tangent, let the customer distract them. They are in control of the conversation the more they follow a script. Because even if a customer tends to take them a little left, they can come right back very quickly so that they can continue to move through that call quickly. The goal is to book as many calls as they can while still giving each customer the same level of satisfaction. So the scripts really kind of help control that conversation and keep them on task. It's important that they lead the conversation, give the customer the information they need, get the information we need to complete the job effectively versus letting that customer take them on a tangent, get off the phone quickly, and oh no, we haven't gotten any of the information we need. So scripts are very important. It's also very important to let them write their script. So when they first start, we have scripts that we give. They're blanket scripts. They learn off of them, but it's very important that they write a script that sounds like them so that they sound natural on the phone. So as they become used to the job and they're really getting the hang of it, we encourage them. It's part of their training that they have to write their own script and submit it. We'll read it with them, go over it, make sure nothing's out of line. It kind of fits with it, but it sounds more like them. So letting them kind of be in control of that as well as they get a little more in depth into the position.
I love that because I think it's good to have like the meat, but let them have control over the potatoes, if you will.
Absolutely.
Something I've been talking about here recently with brands is just the possibility of how you answer your phones as far as really driving home the brand even more. So thinking about how can we standardize, again, like the meat. So these key pieces of the scripts to really help extend out your brand and have that consistency. When I was talking about this with some high schoolers, I asked them, when you go to Chick-fil-A and you say thank you, what is their response? And they were like, they all in unison, my pleasure. And I said, okay, so if you go to Popeyes, who also sells chicken, and you say thank you, what do they respond? And it was like, you're welcome, my pleasure, no problem. And so it's good to have the meat of it be standard to help really solidify the brand. But I like that y'all give them that freedom to have their voice, because yes,
Absolutely.
they're gonna, they're gonna have their own way of doing things and it helps them be successful. So
It
that's
comes
very,
across more genuine that way than it does just a robot reading a piece of paper.
yeah, that's good. Okay, what's number 2 for the pillars of the call center?
That would be how-tos. And when I say how-tos, what is the McWilliams way? How do we book a call correctly? How do we book an install correctly? How do we book an ordered parts job correctly? Because while we all know you can do things a million different ways in ServiceTitan to get to the same result, but are we hitting every piece of that puzzle we need to as we book that call? So on every call, are you getting age of equipment? On every call, are you getting the filter size? On every call, are you getting model and serial number? So to do that, what's the how-to? So we have exactly step-by-step written out how to do the job. I think you're going to share the blue book.
Yeah,
for
and
everyone to know.
yes, and what's it called again?
So this is our blue book. This is new members. We're actually revamping this as we speak. So a big thing I want my guys, this is not just a job, it's a career. And how do you build that? You get them involved. So each of, and we'll talk about this a little later on, but each of them have a job to do, and we're revamping this blue book. So not only do you see a step-by-step procedure of how to do the job, there will also be a QR code in the top corner, and anyone can sit down at their desk, open that up and go, how do I book an inspection special? If they can't, for some reason, the steps are not playing out, they can click on the QR code. It will go to a video of that person that has recorded how to do that step-by-step through ServiceTitan. And they can
That's
watch that
cool.
process all the way through. So it will have, this book will be a binder that starts with CSR, goes into dispatcher, goes into install coordinator, goes we have something called an SRM. So it's going to include all of those positions and how the life of the call flows from the time it comes into the office until it leaves and finishes. We complete the call through an install or a repaired job. So it's really a manual that if I walked out and no one showed up today, I could sit down at any of their desks and do their job today with little to no question.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about a lot, just internally with our team is, you never want to assume the worst, or sometimes you don't want to even prepare for the worst, but then the worst happens and you're
Absolutely.
caught very unprepared. And so I love what you said there, is that if somebody doesn't show up for their job, I mean, that probably makes your life a lot easier, right? Is that and you don't have to stress about, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this?
Right.
So, and I think the utilization of technology there with the QR code, God bless the QR code for making a revival,
Yeah.
give y'all the ability to do that. So if y'all want access to the blue book, just for inspiration, then reach out to your account manager and we can get this sent over to you. So just as, again, just an outline. I know not all of y'all are on ServiceTitan, but it can at least give you the opportunity to see that framework and build from there. So
Sure.
speaking of building from there, Sarah, what is our third pillar of the call center?
So that would be promotional cue cards.
Okay, so what is a promotional cue card?
So how many times do you run a promotion for a plumbing job or HVAC job, and you hand it to your CSRs and say, okay, this is going to be on social media. This is going to be, they're getting an email blast, going to the newsletter, and here you go. $89 off of a water heater flush. Okay, that's great. So when they call in, what's the first thing a customer is going to do? They're going to ask a bunch of questions. Those girls have no clue, right? So the promotional cue cards come from our HVAC trainers and our plumbing trainer. And they create these cue cards that say, okay, here are some questions that the customer may ask and easy answers for you to give them. Here are some things that will help really help book the call and give more info to the technician. Here are some things you can ask that will qualify. Does this qualify for the promotion? Do they have the right equipment? some people don't know the difference between a standard water heater and a tankless water heater at their home, believe it or not. So when they call in and they say we want a water heater flush, what are some questions we can ask that will determine, do they have a standard or do they have a tankless? So it's those kinds of things that help them really understand what the promotion means, how to qualify it, how to quantify it, all of the things before it's before it gets to dispatch and it's a mess. So they have become very vital, and my CSRs love them because it really helps them understand the whole process.
Yeah, like what are they offering? Yeah, giving them that full picture. So
And
this
you
is
don't have to put somebody on hold and say, oh, let me go find out for you, when you should really know. You're the expert, right?
Yes, and so many of those calls, that's what we see a lot of times when we're unpacking, when we sent out, a direct mail postcard or something like that, and we're unpacking what happened to these leads. Sometimes it is that on hold, or I'll have to call you back, really
Right.
just kills the momentum. So I love that, of like setting them up to be confident and equipped. So this is an example of one of the cue cards at McWilliams and Son. So this is for a 93 or it's free offer. So we'll send this to y'all after this as well. Again, just as an opportunity for you to see kind of the framework of how you can help really just set your CSRs up for success to really sell these offers that we're placing out into the public. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome. If y'all have any questions, we are going to leave some time at the end of the Q&A for us to, if you have any questions specifically about these pillars, we'll talk about those then. But let's move on, Sarah, to goals, the goals of the call center, how we can make that sweeter. So tell me about the first one. What's the first goal that you feel like is important to set?
So it's daily call and revenue tracking. It's important. We take our yearly budget, we back into it on what our call count should be based on what we want our revenue to be. We break that down by month. And it's really important that your CSRs and your dispatchers are just as involved. Now I will tell you, these numbers are not accurate. They are just some examples that we have sent. But they can pull up this revenue chart. They get it daily, every morning. They know exactly where we're at. They can look at that HVAC residential service, and the gray bar is our actual, the blue bar is the goal for the month, the red bar is the pace. Now this is just for one of our locations. They can tell by looking at that. You can see that the actual is a little bit less, I believe, right, McKenna? It's real small, that it's a little less than the pace. So they can look at that and they can tell you real quick that we've probably hit call count, but average ticket is down. Because call count is high, or vice versa, maybe call count is low, but they're knocking the average ticket out of the park. Either way, it's a great problem because we're on point, we're on pace, basically, to hit our revenue goal. So as you go down to call count, they can scroll down and they can see, are we actually hitting call count there? So yes, we've exceeded our pace for that. And when you scroll on down past that, is average ticket on there, McKenna? No.
I think it's over here.
It's over here. Okay. So you can see the average ticket is way down. Therefore, that's causing the lag in revenue. So it's extremely important that they understand this because it helps drive what they're doing for the day. So what do I need to do? If I'm behind in call count, I know that we need 10 calls today when I walk in to hit budget for the day. If we only have 5 demand calls, I need to be outbounding today to get 5 more. And I'm outbounding on open invoices. I'm outbounding on open estimates. I'm outbounding on any of the offers that we have that would get us in the home to drive that call count. If I'm ahead, well, right now we're in shoulder season, so I've already hit my demand call count naturally. Now I need to start running a bunch of tune-ups for our members. So I know that if we have open spots on the board, I can call out on those today. It's really setting them up to be their own CEO at their desk. I'm
Mm.
not a micromanager. I don't come in and tell them what to do every day. I come in and give them the tools they need, and they come in and they know what they need to do to fill that because they see this report every day.
Yeah, that's exactly when you were sharing this. That's exactly what I was thinking was, man, this just really gives your CSRs the opportunity to take ownership of what's happening within the company, right? And
Right.
really empowering them. Patty asked, is that a report Service Titan does, or did you create it?
So our CFO is really great at Google Sheets. He created this. We use the job completed detail out of Service Titan and use that report to dump into this spreadsheet that you see.
And for some of y'all, you haven't ever broken down your revenue like this. So let's say for 2023, you have said, okay, I want to hit 3 million in 2023, but you really don't know what type of average ticket, what type of call count, how many technicians do I have? So if you need help with that, we'd be happy to partner you with a leadership team member at McWilliams and Son to help you with that. So just talk to your account manager, because we know a lot of this really starts at the top. You know, the leadership is setting these goals. You as the owner are setting these goals, breaking this down so that then it can go down, trickle down is what I was thinking, into your team to allow them the opportunity. So they can't know that these are the goals if we haven't set these goals clearly. So, and Sarah, just to clarify, you send this out every day to the team?
My CSRs run it every day and
Okay,
send it out to all leadership teams.
okay, very cool.
How better to make them understand than to do it themselves. It's fantastic.
That's right. That's again, that ownership piece. So
Yeah.
we'll send this again in the email so y'all can see it so that you can kind of know what you need to start formulating and forecasting for in 2023. So, okay, daily call revenue goal tracking is our first pillar of our goals. What's the second one, Sarah?
Booking rates.
Ooh. Now, Sarah, your standard for booking rates. This to me is a little spicy. So tell me what you expect your booking rate to be above.
I expect all their individual booking rates to be over 90%.
90%. So how do you, so what are some ways in which you equip the team to ensure that 90% booking rate?
So a lot of those things we talked about before, they're having the promotional cue cards, making sure that they know how to book a call correctly and they're not fumbling over pieces of the call that they don't really need to, so that they sound confident and they can make those sales very easily and book those calls easily. They're not losing a lot of that. A big piece of that is classifying their calls. So I don't know how many of you actually look at your abandoned calls every day and evaluate their individual scorecard. So they have to look at their abandoned calls every day and they go in, because if you don't click the green bubble, what happens? It signs it to no one. So if they miss, and they will holler at, you'll hear them all day long, hey, click the green bubble, because they know somebody's about to have to go classify that call. So they stay on top of it. They go into their own scorecard. They're looking at their own calls. What calls do I need to have reviewed? And who better to classify their calls than themselves, because they have to listen to that call. They have to go back in and they will tell me, boy, I messed that one up, or, oh, don't listen to that one, it was rough. And they go in, we have our reasons. Sorry, y'all, the train's coming through. We have our call reasons set up. Specifically, there's not a lot of them. What is a lead? What is not a lead? You need to have those set up very clear. They need to understand what those are. So when they go in, and there are about 4 or 5 things that I penalize them for to make it is a lead that they didn't book. Other than that, it's considered not a lead. So when it's considered a lead and they didn't book it, it goes against their booking rate, right? So they have to go in, and they hate it too. When they have to click that it was a lead and they didn't book it, they get real salty. And they try to figure out a way to explain why it shouldn't be that way. And 99% of the time they do not win. So they just know how to do it better the next time. But I love that they get so invested, but they're doing that every day. I don't have abandoned calls. I don't have to worry about that. So I know that that booking rate from the day before, if I run it month to date, and I usually run it month to the prior day. So if I ran it today through yesterday, that booking rate is going to be 100% accurate because they're doing it every day. That's how much I've really push call classification, because it's the only way that you get an accurate booking rate to know, because that's important. It's important for marketing when our account managers go in and run those reports. What campaigns are working? And if you're not classifying your calls correctly, you have no clue. Was it booked? If it's sitting in abandoned, you're not getting that tracking. So it's extremely important that they go in and do those pieces. And that is why that's why I push for a 90% booking rate.
And so I think just to clarify, so you, at the end of the month is when you look at their booking rate and then have any discussions, or how often are you looking at it?
So I typically run it weekly now. Before I was running it daily through the day before, because I could say, hey, you didn't classify your calls today. But I don't have to do that anymore, because this morning I'm sitting in here working, getting ready for this, and I can hear them talking. Somebody said, so abandoned calls were a little, they didn't get handled very well while I was in training last week. I'm doing it right now. Like, you can hear them really, they hold themselves accountable, because they know how important it is. Trust me, they got to a point, not last summer, but the summer before, and we had our quarterly meeting, and their numbers go on the board. And about a week before that quarterly meeting, they realized they had 1,600 abandoned calls they had not touched. Their booking rate was in the toilet. Like, it was horrible. I went on a rampage. Like, it was not pretty in here, and they have never let that happen again. So that was not fun for them. They stayed late. They worked weekends. It was not fun.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I think we can all agree that, booking rates, especially because, to your point, you even brought up the account managers, like, we know that booking rate so heavily influences the revenue and how we reach that at the end of the month. So it's important to keep an eye on it. So I like that you keep an eye on it every week, and even that you hold them to that high of a standard, and that you can, because we have equipped them to book 90% of the calls. I'm curious, what are the 4 things that you do penalize them on?
So if someone was calling in for price shopping, because you should be able to flip that to getting a technician out there. If they're price shopping for counterpart, what are you trying to push that if we get a technician out there, now it's covered under labor and material warranty, not just our labor warranty if they provided the part. I penalized them on not returning a call efficiently. So if they did not return a call within 30 minutes and it wasn't booked, shame on you. You know better than that. If they let it go to answering service. I penalized them on home warranty. So we don't work with home warranty companies, but it is your job to really push, hey, you can use us and we will give you all the information you need to go and file that on your home warranty after it's done. So those are some of the things that we consider a lead, that they have all the tools to make sure that they can book those calls for those customers.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, let's talk about the third goal, the third pillar of your goals. What is that one?
Age of equipment.
Okay. So let's define real quick, when you say of age equipment, what is the year that you're looking at that?
So anything 12 years and older for us is considered of age equipment. It's
Okay.
old. It needs to be replaced, right?
Yeah.
Now some people have 20, 30-year-old systems and they don't want to touch them because they're working just fine. But it's our job to start educating those people. Hey, this is going on with your system. Is it worth a $2,000 repair versus putting that toward a replacement, right? So it's extremely important that on every call, we don't put it on their account. We put it on every call, because if they see us next year and they don't call us out for 2 years and they had someone in the meantime come in and change their system, we don't ask every call. We don't know that they got new system in their house from the last time they used us, right? We can track that easily on our members, but people who are not a member, we can't track that. So every call, they have to confirm the age of equipment. They have more than one system in their house, they're asking what the oldest age of equipment. So they're putting the oldest system in the house on there, right? So they have something from 1999 or something from 2005. They're going to use the 1999 as the age of equipment because that's the oldest system in the home. If the customer doesn't know, because you would be surprised how many people do not know how old their HVAC system is, we have some questions that we ask. They're asking how old the home is. They're asking, have they ever replaced it while they lived there? They're asking how long they've lived in their home. Through those, they can kind of deduce a little bit. They use Zillow, they use Google, they use the appraisal district for that county to kind of dig in. Sometimes you'd be surprised that on Zillow or realtor.com, they will tell you in there the last time the HVAC system was updated, the year. They will give that. If they know and they're trying to push the sale of that house, if it's recently sold, they'll tell you what the age is. So if they still can't find it from there, the choice is verify age. Now it moves to our dispatcher. Our dispatcher takes that ball, technician goes out. They are responsible for getting the technician to verify the age of the system and the model and serial number in the account, and then they go in and update that. There's a report I run, it's age of equipment report in ServiceTitan, and I can pull it and I can tell who has how many verified ages, who just randomly went down and picked an age, because I will randomly pick certain job numbers, go in and look, and you would be surprised when we first started this, how many times they just randomly picked a year, and I went to the equipment page and there it is. Real easy, but they get lazy. And so it was just working with him. It was new, trying something different, but man, we run an opportunity report for our leadership team, and you can really see how many jobs we had, how many of those were opportunities, and how many we converted. That's a game changer. So the guys are now the dispatcher is able to set the history for that call based on the age. They go back, hey, this is a 12-year-old system. We've been out there and done A, B, C, D, and E. Go out there. You really need to flip this for a lead. They're really putting all of that in the summary. So that tech's not having to go back and dig through the history. They've got it all right there in the summary, and they can go in and be very efficient when they get there. So we've seen that it's helped us flip more leads just by tracking the age of equipment.
No, that's great. We love those replacement leads. Am I right? Am I right? So no, that's really good. Okay, well, let's go on to what is the fourth and last pillar.
So that is celebrate victories and learn from defeats.
Okay, which it sounds like y'all do a very good job of. So how do you do this practically?
So I think you have a screen share to show the whiteboard. My girls are old school. They like to see it visually on a board. They can go up and change it throughout the day. But we keep track of the daily call count. Yes, they get the revenue chart, and yes, it's on a TV screen in the room. But this is a picture of our whiteboard that they go in, and it will tell them what's the call count goal for the day, how many technicians they need to hit that call count goal for the day, how many we were lacking. So if this month to date, we've had this many, we're up this many, we're down this many, how many do we need to break even? And so they keep track of that daily. They look at it daily. They know exactly what they need to book. It's a game changer. They like anything that keeps them interactive, paying attention, really noticing. I'm all for. So whiteboard it is all day long.
We'll send this picture. I can't get it to pull up right now, technical difficulties, but we'll send this picture in the email recap so that y'all can see just how you could even implement it into your own office. So, and then that way, again, I think that's something I really admire about McWilliams and Son is just the clarification of communication, like communicating nonstop. And so just seeing how they do that with their CSRs is really, really good. So,
and it's easy because we can come in the morning and talk about it. Okay, we didn't hit call count here yesterday, but man, and we break it down per location, per modality. So call count for HVAC, call count for plumbing, call count for commercial HVAC. So if we hit it in HVAC residential in Livingston, we're fixing to great. If we didn't hit commercial in Livingston, okay, what did we not do yesterday that we need to double up and do today? So that we can recoup that and move forward and we start tomorrow fresh. So
That's good. That's good. Okay, so those are the goals that we set. Let's talk about software. Let's get a little nerdy for just a second.
yeah.
What is the first pillar of software for your call center?
So you need a CRM that works for you.
Oh, say it
Um,
again.
You need a CRM that works for you.
That works for you. So not like the one that's the hottest on the market, not the one that had the best salesman, the one that works best for you. So I love that you said that you say that, because I think a lot of times we get really caught up in doing what everybody else is doing or whatever. And so and then you end up purchasing a software that you don't even know how to work.
Right. I
Okay,
think
so tell me more about CRMs.
so. We use Service Titan. We all know Service Titan is super robust. It has a lot of things. We don't utilize all of the things that it has. It's very cafeteria plan. Everybody, if you've been to a lot of companies and I walk in and they're using Service Titan way different than we're using Service Titan. But Service Titan works for us with our need. Does it give us everything we need? No. Would we like to change a lot of things about Service Titan? I think everybody in here, if it's on Service Titan, would raise their hand. And so we are using it how it benefits us. We're running the reports that benefit us. If we can't find them, we're trying to figure out the ways to find those reports that work best for our company and what we're trying to do at that time, right? So you need to find something that works for you, gives you the reports you need. Reporting is huge. Gives you the reports you need, allows you a dashboard that allows you to track everything very simply and easily. And it allows transparency for your staff to do the same thing. They need to be able to run those reports. They need to be able to see that dashboard. They need to be able to see those things because it helps them be better every day. So finding a CRM that works for you and tracks what you need effectively will be a huge game changer in your call center.
Because I think that's a great point that you said as far as the trackability, especially of your call center. Because I think that's the thing that I see a lot of people miss is you have a great CRM that tracks your revenue really well, which you would automatically think like, oh, this is the one. It tracks my revenue. What more could I possibly need? But in reality, there's so much more that plays into what's happening with your revenue that sometimes you have no idea because you don't have the ability to track it. So I think it's a really, really great point. Okay, let's talk phone systems. Number 2, the second pillar.
Yes.
What's about phone systems?
So we got a new phone system. It was great. We outgrew it the next day. It was a local solution that we thought was really great. We're going to do this and realized very quickly that we had already outgrown it. So we don't like to make changes during the summer. It's very difficult during busy season to make large changes. So we are actually in the process now of getting a new phone system that we will roll out before next spring. You want a phone system that grows with you, not one that you outgrow very quickly. You want to be able to say, okay, here it is. It's more robust probably than I need right now, but where am I going to be at in 2 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years? And we'll get into some of this in just a little bit on further down, but something that's not going to limit you immediately. Something you need a little bit more of right now is fine, because you want to be able to grow with you and not hold you back.
And so just for y'all to like, let's just really drive this home for a second. So it's November and you're already looking at phone systems to prepare for the summer.
Yes.
So sometimes I think we're a little retroactive, like we get in the middle of the summer and we're like, wait, I need a new phone system. So for some of y'all, it's important for us to like they're doing, to forecast for the summer, to start thinking about the future so that you can start preparing now. Because y'all have tried to change things within your office. It doesn't go very well. So people are slow creatures of habit to change. So I think that's good.
We do not want to change. We don't make a lot of changes in the summer here because we're already stressed to the max. It's busy. the last thing you want to do is throw a kink in that. And now you've got a phone system and you got to work out all the little idiosyncrasies you didn't know. And why is this down? And why is this not up? And you never know what's going to happen. So a lot of our training, we have notebooks and we keep what's not working right now, what's not working. And then as soon as end of September hits, we hit those head on. Okay, go back to your book. What didn't work during the summer? How do we fix them now? So when we move into next spring and summer, we've already addressed those issues.
Yeah, no, that's good. Let's talk pillar number 3, which I think is a little, when you're talking software, I think this one is a little bit like contradictory, especially the first part. So tell us what pillar number 3 of your software is.
So that is flexibility and scalability. So our word here is pivot. You always have to be ready to pivot. We work for Trey. I don't know how many of you met him, but we could set something to right now and 30 minutes later, we're doing something different. So you've got to be ready to pivot and move. And things always need to be scalable. So what I'm doing right now, is it going to be able to be scalable so that I can just enhance my process in 6 months, or I'm going to have to go back and rebuild a whole process? It's way more efficient to build a process now that can be scalable for where you see yourself in 6 months, a year, 2 years, than it is to have to stop and rebuild a whole new process and teach that process. So everything that you need to do needs to be scalable, not just for today, but for later on down the road.
Yeah, because I think something maybe we're not even cognizant of sometimes as business owners is that we like hold ourselves back by not having vision for the future. I think that's what, like my dad, when he owned his HVAC company, I think Trey, when you have vision for like, where could this go? It really allows you to start to put a lot of systems and processes in place at the foundation so that you can grow to the places in which you probably never imagined before. So that's why when you said flexibility, I thought, man, like we don't think about that with software, but it is so true that your team needs to be able to be flexible, but also confident in the software that they're using. So speaking of C words, let's talk about the 4th pillar of your software.
So this is my word for 2023, consistency. I'm about to throw a lot of things at my team in 2023 for change and new things that they've not seen and had to experience. So anything that I can do to provide consistency in an ever-changing field, that's my goal. So a phone system that grows with me is now providing consistency because they're going to learn it. They're going to be masters at it. And no matter what else I chunk at them, they know one thing's going to stay the same. It's that phone system. A CRM that's robust enough to do what we needed to do is going to always stay the same. They're going to learn it. They're going to know it. And no matter else what I ask them to do, that's going to stay the same. So every place that I can make sure that I can provide them consistency will be a lot easier when I ask them to do a lot of other things that require change and flexibility and being able to pivot.
No, that's good. My dad and I were talking about leadership and just how important leadership is for an organization. And he said a lot of times where leadership fails is that those that are following you lose trust. So when you talk about consistency, I just think about that's exactly what you're helping with, right? Is you're helping establish that trust within either the system or the process, or you as the leader, that you're going to lead them in the right direction. So
Absolutely.
I love that with consistency. So if y'all didn't pick up on that last, those 2 fill in the blanks under 4. So it's any choice you can make that will provide consistency in an ever-changing field is the best choice. So wanting to make sure that y'all get that. So Sarah, you have provided some great information. We are nearing our Q&A time. So you want to blow through the pillars of a bought-in and self-driven team. What's the first one?
So initiative is the first one. Hire for character. I can teach somebody all day long what I need them to know to answer the phones, but I cannot teach them to be a good person. So if you want a team that's going to be valuable, bought in, really get your culture, you have to hire good people. Because I can make a good person a rock star CSR. I cannot make a crummy person a rock star. Just doesn't happen. It will create cancer within your department and it will tear you down very quickly.
Why do you think people are so quick to hire those for other things other than character? Like, you know, I think we mostly steer towards experience rather than character. And so why do you think that's the case? And why do you think a lot of people end up missing out?
I think that we put them through a very rigorous interview process here. They at least have 2 interviews when they come on here. And with 2 different sets of management teams. I have one of my CSRs sitting in the first interview with a manager, then they passed him through to myself and our operations director. Because you can get 2 different people at both of those interviews. They are only as good as they want you to see them. They will make themselves be one thing, and when they sit behind that desk day one, you're like, oh no. And so you've got to ask questions that read between the lines. You've got to have buy-in from one of your team members that, hey, this is a valuable person, because when they don't work out, guess what? It's not just you that's on the line. That person on your team made that choice along with you. So you now have a joint really problem, because you didn't see it, I didn't see it. Well, it's not just on me. You keep hiring all these crappy people. No. I think also we see that we need a body and we need somebody in it now. And so we just go ahead and hire the first person that interviews. You can never wait till you need somebody in that position. You better have a list before you ever need somebody in that position, right? We're always interviewing. Even if I don't need anybody, I'm always interviewing. I think also we weigh too heavily on, oh, they have a degree and they've had this experience. People can lie. People can over exaggerate what they have done at another job, all of the things. So you really have to use discernment and start reading through some of the lines and how they respond to questions to really pick out those that are going to fit your team and fit your culture.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, let's talk about the second pillar, which I think will freak people out a little bit, but share it with us. Let's see how they react.
So freedom.
What?
They need you. So McKenna asked me, she's like, does that mean they get extra time off, more breaks during the day? I'm like, no, not really, even though I am a lot more lenient on their time off in the off season than I am in summer. I encourage all their doctor's appointments, vacations in the off season than I do summer. But you need to give them the opportunity to take initiative. They will never, ever, ever get in trouble here for taking initiative, even if it's wrong, because I want to empower them. I want them to make those decisions. I don't want them to come to me for everything. I want them to be able to give a discount. They all know they can give 10%. If they are having trouble booking a job, give them 10%. Hands off the board. Don't even have to ask me. I really try to, they know for the most part how I would handle a situation, and that's what they do. But if they make a wrong decision, it's literally a training opportunity to say, okay, I see why you did that. Next time, maybe we would do it like this. Or have you ever thought about maybe if we did it this way, this would have been the outcome. Now you didn't just completely tear them down for making the decision, but you built a foundation that will change the way they do it the next time.
No, that's good. So if y'all missed it, that blank underneath that second one, give your team the opportunity to take initiative. So I think that's, again, it just helps really build the confidence of your team, the ownership. There's so much that I think comes from giving them that freedom and even that freedom to fail to some degree. Like I think a lot of us would probably have our quickest, most memorable lessons probably came from the times where we just like fell flat on our face. So. Okay, well, let's go to the third pillar. And as we're going through these last two, y'all start thinking of some questions that you want to ask as we wrap up. So what's the third pillar, Sarah?
So that's training. We use Power Selling Pros, outside leadership training, and lots of in-house training. So just like my CSRs and dispatchers just went through we have our own home service academy here where we bring in technicians or guys, girls who want to become a technician, and they go through a 5-week training course. When they graduate, they get a job, a van, keys, and they're on the road. We just put all of our CSRs and dispatchers through a mini course of that so that they understand the lingo. They understand what's happening in the home. They understand what those technicians are looking for and what is actually the weight that's on them. What are they doing? Because it makes them more efficient and knowledgeable in the office. That also gives them a little bit of empathy for those guys, right? Why can't they just run one more call? Or why can't now they really understand, they're seeing the whole picture. There's a HVAC one that's coming up before the end of the year that they'll all sit through. They just went through IAQ training for our IAQ packages from the dealer, came in and did that for our CSRs and dispatchers. We go through weekly meetings where we train on a different topic. We talk about what's going on in the call center. It is super important that you really invest in them and make them feel like your technicians are not the only ones who are going to get training. You really want them to know and be the best that they can be.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, especially with the CSRs and the technicians, I think we're quicker to invest training into the technicians because we associate more of the revenue there, right? So we're like, oh, well, they're the ones that have to go on the calls and stuff like that. But to your point, I mean, the CSRs are the ones supporting and booking the calls. So if we can empower them and also give them a place to have that career. I mean, there's so many careers out there, and that's the natural assumption, right? Is that I'm going to get training when I'm in this career. And so let's provide the same exact atmosphere and set the same standard for our company, our HVAC, plumbing, and electrical company, by providing training for them and seeing how they can't be better and help more. So that's really, really good. Okay, let's do the last one and then we'll do Q&A. So what's the last pillar?
So that's a growth and development plan. So every year McKenna's going to share the screen. I do a growth and development plan with each one of my CSRs and my dispatchers. What's their professional goals? What's their personal goals? What's their passions and skills and talents? What do they think that they need some development on? And now what's the action plan? How do I make them better? How do I help them? So I get involved in their personal goals as much as they will let me. I have one who is signing tomorrow on her first home they just bought. They've been married for 10 years, the big accomplishment. I was very involved in that process with her and her husband as far as budgeting. How does this work? Filling out paperwork, all of those things. Doesn't have a mother. Her mother passed away when she was young. So they call me mama in here because my main job is to be their mentor, whether that's professionally or personally, and all the rest falls into place once I do that. And so I field a lot of personal questions after hours, going to a court case Monday morning, an adoption case with one of my girls. It's always being there to support them, because when you do that and you're on their team, they will do anything for you, anything you ask them to do. So really diving in and helping them grow and develop is going to be a huge part in the success of your call center.
No, that's so good. Because I think and most of y'all know this, I think, as business owners, but it's like, that's what people are looking for now more than ever, is careers that are investing in them as people, more so than, hey, you invest in me by making me meet my revenue goals. And so I think, and I love that about McWilliams & Son especially, is that y'all give people the freedom to fail, you hire for character, and then you stand alongside them. And I think it just shows in like this, you already have this pressure built to hire, so that whenever you recruit, it's super easy to find somebody to step into that position, because
Absolutely.
you all have done so much work on the back end with the internal culture that it just naturally dissipates within the community. So that is so good. Well, let us open the door for questions. If y'all have them, you can just unmute yourself, raise your hand if you want to ask Miss Sarah some questions. Oh, maybe not. Oh,
I have one.
What you got?
What phone system do y'all use? If you don't mind.
So right now we're using a phone system called 3CX.
3CX.
And we're looking at the top contender right now for us to move to is Ring Central.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And why Ring Central? If you don't mind
So
me asking?
Ring Central has a lot of AI built into it. So a lot of things that will allow you to route calls based on what CSR is better at that job. So I have one CSR who really struggles at booking duct cleanings, but I have one who can book them every time. So I can route those calls based on the keywords that they're saying. It will push that call to her every time. You can auto-populate scripts as they come in. There's the dashboard that you can put in your call center that can really do some healthy competition between them is amazing. Like there's just a lot of things that it allows us to add unlimited a number of locations. So it's going to grow with me for a very long time.
Have y'all ever tried Phones Pro?
With Service Titan,
Yes.
so we looked into that, yes. But it does not support multi-locations. You have to have a different Service
Oh.
Titan and a different Phones Pro for each one right now.
Gotcha.
And it is not as reliable as far as the dropping of calls. And I that's a very large priority for me. I have to have something that's very reliable.
Thank you.
Question, Bethany. Jeff, do you have a question?
Yeah, I missed it. What the expected booking rates for the call center people?
90%.
Oh, sorry, Sarah.
That's okay.
93, 93?
90.
Oh, 90? Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? Miss Patty?
I guess I do. I wanted to know, what is your, like your chain of command? So your call center girls are all under the office manager or under,
So they're under me.
they're under you?
So I have dispatchers, I have revenue recovery, I have CSRs, I have the install coordinators and teletech.
Okay,
Do that all one more time.
yeah,
So CSRs, dispatch, install coordinators, revenue recovery, and teletech. So they all report to me. I handle all their time, attendance, evaluations. In the new model, and I report directly to our regional operations manager. And so I am on the same level as a GM, and my team just reports to me. So they, eventually teletech will move out underneath a GM because it's a more technical issue. And as we're growing, it's getting bigger. But the rest of the guys they're all mine.
and the girls take calls for plumbing, everything, right?
Yes. So right now they take calls for everything across the board. As we are growing and we're adding more CSRs, we will have specific CSRs for our plumbing. We'll have specific for HVAC. It'll become very trade specific that way. It's a little better. They are able to hone in on a skill. Now they'll all be cross trained, but for the most part, and as we add locations, I have CSRs that answer for that location only.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And what is, you mentioned something that I don't think some of us have heard of. What is a revenue recovery?
So he's my little hidden gem. He actually, anything that has not been followed up by a technician or a service manager in 7 days is open to him. He then calls that customer and he can sell any service ticket, or he can sell any install that was quoted. So any equipment that was quoted, they didn't sell, he can open it up and he sells it. I spiff him. He rocks it. He, I think so far this year, he started full force after all of his training. He really got started in April, and I think he's recovered almost 300 grand of revenue this year. So done a pretty good job. He's killing it, and that's one guy.
My husband was listening. What time? When did he start?
In April.
April. It's awesome.
Any other questions before we wrap it up? Let y'all go about your day. Okay, well, what we're gonna do, like I said, is we will email you this recording of this meeting. We will also email you just a brief survey, and then all the resources that we shared with you, we will also email as well, just to give you some inspiration. If you also want to hear Sarah's melodious East Texas voice and hear more of her CSR wisdom, we do have her on our podcast from the Yellow Chair. So you can go and check that out and listen to her talk with Crystal more about the CSR department. So if y'all need anything, you reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us. Dwight, it was so good to see you. Stephanie, everybody, it was so nice to see faces, and we will see y'all later.
Have a good day.
You too.